Good morning. Distinguished speakers on the dais, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Great pleasure to be here. I've also been listening with great pleasure some of the speakers and really wondering that this seminar, which is being organized today by Ministry of Defense and PhD, someday perhaps it should have taken place some time back, but this is a very, very major beginning. When I'm here today is because Mr. Suresh Prabhu was supposed to be here, but I'm sure that about Indian Railways and what all we are doing in terms of logistics and transportation, he would have been talking about the same thing. So let me begin by quoting, and I have seen that the MC has been coming out with some very quotable quotes, and this was a famous American management guru, Tom Peters, and he said about logistics. Leaders win through logistics, vision for sure, strategy, yes, but when you go to war, you need to have both toilet paper and bullets at the right time. In other words, you must win through superior logistics. In a business sense, logistics entails the management of the flow of stuff between point of origin and point of consumption in order to meet requirements of customers or corporations today. Since logistics costs in India at this point of time have been extremely high, around 13 to 14% of GDP, and a major impediment to its economic takeoff, the government of India has been working tirelessly on comprehensive plan to bring these costs down to something around 7 to 8%, which is the international standard. This has evidently resulted in exciting changes in the crucial infrastructure sector, and rail transportation being the vastest, the most economically and environmentally advantageous mode of transportation, is naturally also going through a most exciting transformative phase for the last couple of years, I would say about 2 years. As for the military, logistics is in any case, as you are all aware, lifeblood of any army, and changing how we fight, which is happening decisively with the modern weapons and information technology. It requires changes in how we support a move towards paradigm shifts in military logistics. It is for this reason that I believe that the conference today on military logistics transportation and potential integration with the upcoming national infrastructure is truly an idea whose time has come. So talking about Indian Railways, I mean, like armed forces is one of the largest organizations serving the country directly under the government control. Indian Railways today operates around 20,000 plus trains every day to move about 3 million tons of freight traffic and more than 23 million passengers. This is a daily thing, which is in any case hugely in competition as far as the freight traffic is concerned, but as far as passengers are concerned, we are number one in the world. Given the scale, reach, and exposure of Indian Railways, which plays a vital role in maintaining mobility amongst its people and ensuring continuity of supply lines of inputs and the distribution of their outputs for various sectors of the economy, the Indian Railways has perhaps correctly been referred to as the lifeline of the country. The commodities lifted by the 7,500 freight trains run by Indian Railways daily are primarily coal for the powerhouses in the country, food grain for areas deficient in agricultural outputs, industrial inputs like iron ore, gypsum, POL, cement, what have you, and as well as containerized finished goods for domestic market and also for export. On the passenger side, 12,500 plus passenger carrying trains move through a vast network which connects various states and links metropolitan cities and obscure villages. The Indian Railway thus very, very significant form an edifice that integrates and the diverse Indian demography, transporting millions of daily commuters and long lead passengers. In addition to the carriage of passengers and freight, Indian Railways also plays a major strategic role in arranging important movements of defense and paramilitary personnel and their equipment. It also meets the logistics needs of the nation during elections, emergencies, and natural disasters like floods and droughts, etc. And I may tell you that very recently, the 5 states have concluded the elections. And in these elections, we also had a silent role. We moved about 165,000 paramilitary forces from one state to another for successful completion of these elections. Indian Railways have a massive base of assets which it uses to produce the transportation output. The assets owned by Indian Railways include about 10,000 locomotives, 60,000 coaches, 2.5 lakh wagons, 65,000 route kilometers of network, which is now 1,15,000 kilometers of track kilometers, about 13 lakh committed personnel and officers. Despite a network and enormous assets and legacy of dedication, contribution to nation building, Indian Railways, like a few other organizations, had been beset and with a sluggish pace of development and chronic underinvestment for the last couple of decades. The kind of money that we needed for developing the infrastructure and logistics was not coming to us for the last about 25 years or so. But the situation is changing. The vision to deal with the challenge, a high priority for the government, was given, and I must say that I may quote the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, when he said, quote, "Railway was always considered only as a mode of transportation in our country. We want to see railways as the backbone of India's economic development." To achieve this target, a comprehensive and multi-pronged transformational strategy has been rolled out for Indian Railways. I would like to talk about that. The strategy aims to resolutely deal with the vicious cycle of underinvestment. The total capital development expenditure of IR since 2014-15 risen from 54,000 crores that we were spending in 2014-15 to 94,000 crores in 15-16 and 1,21,000 crores in 16-17 and 1,31,000 crores in 2017-18. Over a period of 5 years from 2015 to 2020, we'll be investing about $142 billion. This is the kind of investment which is coming for new lines, for doubling, for gauge conversion, for railway electrification, for procurement of rolling stock, locomotives and wagons, and taking the infrastructure to the farthest corners of the country. To achieve such a massive investment, besides enhanced support from the government, we have gone ahead and borrowed money from LIC and PPP mode and models based on cooperative federalism through joint ventures with the state governments and also with certain ministries, Ministry of Defense for one. 2015-19, 142 billion US dollars, and we are well on our way and have spent the required amount of money in developing the infrastructure. The result is that in line with the target to increase throughput by about 10% over the next 3 years through modernization and upgradation of identified corridors, the target for railway lines to be commissioned in 2017-18 has been further raised to 3,500 kilometers. I mean, we were completing something like about 500 to 700 kilometers of railway lines were being added to the existing system, which was around 51,000 route kilometers at the time of independence, 1951, and remained around 63,000 route kilometers till a few years back. We have now started adding about 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers of railway line every year. China is doing roughly around 10,000 kilometers a year for the last about 3-4 years. This includes new strategic lines all over the place, as I said, including Jammu and Kashmir and in the Northeast. For the latter, that is in Northeast, we are spending roughly around $1 billion US per year, which is around 6,000 crores, and plan to connect all the state capitals, the 7 states in Northeastern region by 2020. We are also adding terminals, which is very, very essential. We talked about the logistics. We are also developing multimodal logistic parks by the Container Corporation of India. About 16 of them are coming this year. And we have planned to complete 100 private freight terminals and sidings all over the place, where there would be a certain kind of integration with the road transportation and railways. The expansion of network is not limited to just our country, but also includes plans for connectivity in the larger region, including Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and covering larger South Asian region and joining the Trans-Asian Regional Corridor. Very recently, we have held a seminar and we had heads of the railways from South Asia and Southwest Asia. And we have all the plans of running, giving a demonstration run between Dhaka to Istanbul, maybe during this year after taking care of all the bilateral protocols. Railways is also targeting massive capacity augmentation in terms of 2 dedicated freight corridors, and 3 more dedicated freight corridors would be coming. And the procurement of wagons has been doubled to 25,000 wagons every year, and also the locomotives which are being already manufactured in the two newly established production units. The railways, with its continuous dialogue with stakeholders, remains extremely sensitive to their requirements. I mean, this is where we come in for the integration, constantly undertaking reforms and taking initiatives to suit their needs. IR takes care of the logistic needs of several government ministries, be it coal or food or fertilizer, or petroleum, or even the home and defense ministries for their varied logistics requirements. Gives me immense pride to remind you that Indian Railways and the Indian Armed Forces have one of the oldest associations in the country, predating independence. In various peace and emergency situations, these organizations have joined hands to meet the needs of the nation, which I have no doubt they will continue to do with commitment in future. I'll not be talking about the nuts and bolts, which most of us are aware of, how a very, very well-oiled directorate works in close coordination with the Director General here. We have a Director Milrail with hundreds of yards and thousands of rolling stock only dedicated for strategic movements. I sincerely wish that the deliberations in today's conference will bring out significant areas of cooperation and new avenues to improve efficiency, which I fully agree lies in the joint and fullest use of the vast logistics infrastructure that we are building. I have no doubt that suggestions will be offered for new structures for cooperation, new ways of jointly adding and sharing infrastructure, and most importantly, new ways of knowledge sharing between all the stakeholders present here. These, I am sure, will go a long way in making today's conference of immense use for the future. But no hesitation in committing that the entire Indian Railways network, when we talk about even the first mile and the last mile connectivity, and also the network and the physical infrastructure, that the entire Indian Railways network, its assets and men shall ever remain eagerly available for the use of national interest as and when the need should arise. I must congratulate the Ministry of Defense and the PhD for organizing a very, very meaningful seminar today. And thank you very much for having me here this morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for that exciting address. I feel like just picking up a train and traveling. It's been more than a decade that one has traveled by train. But I really remember that one was posted to Dinjan at some point in time, and we had to change 3 trains without reservations, 2 children in hand. Well, I hope those days are gone, and today we can travel with more comfort. Well, ladies and gentlemen, PhD Chambers would like to acknowledge the presence of Lieutenant General Ashok Ambre, Ati Vishishta Seva Medal and Bar, Sena Medal, Quartermaster General, Indian Army.